There's a good chance you are looking for a job. It's blowing my mind. I read last week that 55% of the U.S. workforce wants to leave their job. They want to go find another job. It is crazy. Welcome to the podcast. Man, we're excited that you joined us this week, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons today why you should quit your job if you're in that little camp of possibility, or maybe you're in the 45% and you're thinking, I like my job, but there's one of these 5. I'm thinking it might be time for you to leave. So we're going to give you some stuff today. I think it's going to be helpful. So welcome to the podcast. I'm fired up. We're sort of in a series, or wrapping up a series that we've been doing for the last few weeks, sort of a summer reset. I had a chance to go to the beach a few weeks ago. I challenged all of you to think through your own life and leadership, and are there some places where you need to reset as you go into the second half of the year? Well, it's September now, and we're well into this second half of 2021. We're trying to make it the best year ever. We put a course out at the beginning of the year to help you do that. If you didn't get that course, I encourage you to still get it. You need a framework to how you think about your life. I think that can be very helpful to most of you. But as you think about your career, we've been talking about winning at home, but we also don't want to neglect winning at work, because what happens from 5 to 9 really positions you to win from 9 to 5. But you really do want to win from 9 to 5 as well. We've been saying if you win at work and lose at home, you still lose. But if you lose at work and you win at home, you might feel a little better about yourself, but you're still losing. So we want to make sure you can win both at work and at home. So let's talk about this whole work thing on this episode today. So if you're in that camp that is feeling like, man, maybe I need to leave my job, I think some of the things that we'll talk about today will give you a little bit more insight into that. So I've been reading this book called No Rules Rules. It's a book about the culture at Netflix. Pretty interesting book. Highly recommended. If you're leading a company or organization, it'll really challenge you to think about culture, maybe in some new ways. Pretty fascinating stuff. But one of the statements in this book is about being employed, about a job. And one of the things that it says, I think the quote was something like this, that having a job is that magical time in history where you're the best person for that job. And when you're no longer the best person for that job, basically what it says is you need to move out of that seat, let somebody else have it, and you need to go find the place where you will be the best fit. For those of you who are leading a company or leading an organization, leading a team, and you've got people working for you, I want to encourage you to live with open hands. You want to develop them and help them the best you can. But if it's no longer time, they can't do the job, or maybe they're bigger than the job. If you can't promote them, then you got to have this mindset to be able to let them go where they should. I think it was Jim Collins who said, if we have people on our payroll and we're not brave enough to let them go when we should, they'll get to the end of their lives and they might hate us because we stole their life from them. So I think it was Jim Collins that said that. So as you think about your payroll, you don't want your people to feel like when it's all said and done that you've stolen from them their best days. And so you want to provide a great environment for them to work and grow. That'll be helpful to them. So if you're in this camp of maybe I should leave, I think these 5 things are going to help you know. So let me give them to you. The first one is this: you're not being well led. If you are not being well led, I would highly recommend you leave your job. Now, there's this old statement that says people don't leave organizations, they leave poor leaders. And that's not the only reason people leave, but most of the time, the best people will get to a point where they're not being well led. They'll say, I'm out of here. I've got to go to a place where I can be well led. All of us are going to be led by someone. Even owners, a lot of times you're being led by stakeholders or shareholders or customers, even if it's a private family business. I mean, you have someone who's voting on your leadership at some level. But as you think about your organization, are you being well led? If your boss, whoever you're answering to, is not really adding value to your life, or not valuing your life, I guess maybe I'd say it that way. If they're just extracting value from you and not adding value to you, they're not providing an environment where you're resourced and you're encouraged and all those kind of things, life is too short for you to stay in the salt mine, so to speak, and be poorly led. And so if you're not being well led, I'm I'm just going to suggest that you start looking for another place. Secondly, if you're no longer growing, if you're in a job where you're not growing, you're responsible for you. You have to accept responsibility for your own personal growth and development. And whether your boss is providing that opportunity or not, go back to number one. I mean, if that's not happening, that might be the problem. But maybe the problem is your boss is giving you those opportunities, would love for you to grow, and yet you're not growing. You don't feel like this place is a place where you can grow and you can thrive. Maybe it's time to leave. I don't know, but I would say this: what's now, my friend, I got a friend who says what's now is always about what's later. And what you're doing today to grow yourself is going to position you for what is going to be called out in you tomorrow. So you need to be well led, but you also need to be in a place where you can grow. Here's the third reason you should quit your job. If you've already left and you haven't told your boss yet, you should quit. I mean, you say, what are you talking about? Well, some of us have already made a decision in our mind or heart that we've left. We've moved on. Well, if that's the case and you just haven't told anybody yet, you really don't want to just sit there and take a paycheck and, keep your benefits and all those kind of things. I know we need to, have money and stuff to live, but it is time to cut the ties if you have already left in your mind and heart. Give yourself a deadline. It doesn't have to be next week. You don't have to give 2 weeks notice after you listen to the podcast today, but I would say before the end of the year, you literally are like, I'm done, I'm out, I'm gone. If you know you've already left, have the integrity to tell your boss the decision that you've already made. And you might be surprised. They might help you transition to another place, or maybe there's another place even in your business. Leaving your job might not mean leaving even your company. If you're being well led, you might even have an opportunity to move laterally or even move maybe into a place of more responsibility in your organization. Here's number four. The number four reason you should quit your job is if it's no longer a fit for your talent, or your giftedness. Now, this one can be a little bit confusing because sometimes we're really good at something, and because we're good, we will be promoted, and now we're no longer doing what we were doing to get promoted. Now we're over all the people who were doing what we were doing to get promoted. And so a typical place where we see this is somebody who's in sales. They're really great at sales. I mean, they are just selling. They're just so great for a company. And all of a sudden, because they're so good at sales, we think they would be really great at training other people to be good at sales. And sometimes that's a good fit for someone who's a salesman. They're also a good sales trainer. But sometimes we promote them into a place where they're a sales manager or a sales trainer, and they're really not great at that. They're great at selling. And so if you're in an organization, your talent may be something different than sales, but if you're in a place where you're no longer using the talents that you have, those are not being required, and you feel like, in so many ways you're just dying on the vine, have the integrity to go have a conversation with somebody and say, can we get a better fit for me? Can we get me back into a spot? Now, here's where it gets tempting. Sometimes we get promoted to a sales trainer, sales manager, or whatever your talent again is, and we get paid a little more. We get promoted, so we get paid a little more. And it's very hard for us to go backwards when it comes to that payroll. And so again, you're going to have to think through all that, but some of you are being paid every day more to be miserable because you're not getting to do what it is that you're born to do. And so I want to just challenge you, if there's places where your talent no longer feels like a fit, maybe it's time to quit your job. Again, you may not have to, maybe you just, you demote yourself. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, you might be a lot happier if you had, however much it was that your raise was, if you could go back to where you were. And, now, for some of you, also, I would just I would caution you: don't romanticize the past. It was so good when I was in that. Maybe it was, and maybe some of you need to stretch and you need to really push yourself because you do have what it takes to do what it is you're doing. You just don't like it as much yet because you don't feel as successful as you did before. So, I'm not sure. You'll have to work some of that out. But if your talent is no longer a fit, I would encourage you to consider leaving your role, whatever that is. And then here's the fifth one. This is a no-brainer. If you have vision misalignment, if you are not on board with the vision of your company, your team, your organization, your boss, however you want to say that, if you can't really believe in the vision, you don't believe that's a good use of your time and your life, it's time for you to quit. It's time for you to move on and go find something that you really can believe in, a place where you can be better. So if again, let me go through the list. If you're not being well led, if you're not growing, if you've left already and just haven't told anyone, if there is no longer a fit for your talent, or if you feel like there's a misalignment with vision, it's time for you to leave your job. Might not have to leave your company. Maybe you need to. I know 55% of people are saying, hey, we really want to leave. It's probably for one of those 5 reasons. I would encourage you to take some time this week, pinpoint down what is it that's causing you to feel what you're feeling about your career. And if you can't be wide open, ready to go, and fully engaged, there's something going on. You need to deal with that, because you have greatness in you. We talk about it all the time. You have the ability to help other people be great. You've got so many good ideas, and your energy and all that stuff that you have. If you don't steward that correctly at this point, you're going to regret that down the road. You don't want to feel like somebody stole your life. Honestly, it's not your boss that will ultimately steal your life. It'll be you that you'll have to look in the mirror and go, I gave my life away to something that I really didn't believe in, something I wasn't great at. Life is too short for that. So let's make sure that we land in there. Now, let me land today and say this. We're going to do something a little different with our summer reset. We're still technically in summer, but we're moving ahead as we go into the fall, and we're thinking through some of the different ways that we do content. And so as we think about our work, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to make a slight shift. And so we're going to drop some more content for you in a little bit different form. It's going to be a little bit shorter than our weekly form that we've been doing. And so an example of that will happen tomorrow, when we're going to come back, and we're going to drop another video tomorrow and tell you what you should look for in the next couple of days. Actually, we're going to tell you what you should look for in your next job, and then we're going to tuck in between today and that day. We're going to tuck in tomorrow some ways that you need to be, or some things you need to be thinking about if you are going to leave. There's a couple little keys that we'll drop a short little video tomorrow. They'll talk about that, and then in a couple days, gonna drop for you another 7 or 8 minute video that will tell you some things that you need to be looking for in your next job, which will set us up for some of the content we're gonna give you the next couple of weeks. So it's gonna be great. Hope you'll continue to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. You'll get all the content if you subscribe there on YouTube or on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen to your stuff. We'll be there for you. We want to continue to add value to you, but today I want you to walk away going, man, it may be time for me to quit my job. And if it is, you're going to want to tune back in tomorrow, because there's going to be some things that we'll give you that will help you know how to transition. And then on Friday, we'll give you some great stuff to be thinking about, and what you need to be looking for as you go into your next stage of your career. All right, keep chasing greatness. We'll see you tomorrow.